With the Windsor Fringe Festival coming up, I am very lucky to have one of the entrants into it, Abbey Lee Hallett, and their production of Love and Redemption. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited. So you actually wrote this as well?
I did, yes.
Not just performing?
No, so this is the first time I've written a show fully by myself. I wrote one in undergrad. This was more than 5 years ago, but I co-wrote it, so I wrote it with one other person, and it was put on for kind of a smaller audience. So this is the first time that I've ever fully written a show myself, which is really exciting and kind of terrifying as well, because I anything that's a new opportunity is all of those feelings in one. But I was really encouraged to write it because I had just come off of doing Frankenstein with the Courtesan Theatre this would have ended November of 2024, and I'd made several good friends in that cast. There were two friends in particular who are also in this show, and we just really, really had a wonderful rapport, and I was like, oh gosh, we're in the post-show blues. I don't want to just not see these people for a really long time after, which can happen, right, when you do a show. And I was like, you know what, there's got to be a way to reunite us. And in kind of thinking through different ideas, I was like, I'm really stuck on this idea of a relationship and the little things that can kind of be like the straw that breaks the camel's back that really means something bigger. And that's kind of how Love and Redemption got started, and then it just flowed from there.
Now, have you always wanted to write?
Yes. I was really inspired by seeing when I saw The Best Man at Corda a few years ago, which is written by Christopher Lawrence Menard. It was such a beautiful, beautiful show. I still think about it all the time, even though I haven't seen it for a few years, but I still think about it. And I've always loved writing, but my problem was finishing it. So I'd get 15 different ideas. And I'm like, this is so good. Okay, I gotta write about this. And then I'd get 6 pages in, run out of steam, and be like, you know what, I'm gonna write about this other idea. So then I just have a bunch of unfinished things lying around. This is the first show again since undergrad that I fully finished, which felt very good. But also just, I think the encouragement that there was a deadline, because I submitted an application to Fringe, which you do before, you don't even have to have a show, you just need to have a title. And so I'd put in that application, and I told my two friends, Dalton and Boris, that I was writing this. So I'm like, well, now I have to finish it, because I told them I was going to write it, so I can't not finish it. And that was some good encouragement to fully finish it.
And that's amazing that you actually got into Fringe on the first shot out.
So it was really interesting, because I kind of applied thinking, well, you either get your name pulled out of the hat or you don't get your name pulled out of the hat. And we were actually initially waitlisted. So I was just kind of like at the Oscars, it's an honor to be nominated. I was like, well, it's an honor to even be close to the group that did get picked. And then far after I assumed we had any shot, because we were at the second wait list, I got an email. I was half asleep. It was earlier in the morning, and I kind of looked at my phone half asleep, and the subject line was Fringe. I was like, that's odd. And I clicked on it. It's actually, your second wait list. A spot has opened up. And I sat bolt upright in bed, and I immediately texted Dalton and Boris. I was like, are you able to do Fringe in July? Please answer ASAP. And we were trying to figure out everything, because we'd wanted to put this on, but our timeline was November. So November, July, big difference.
Huge difference.
So quick, we got to get this together. And thankfully, they're both available. So we were able to say yes. And now here we are, very close to actually getting to do it.
I know I had put in for Fringe and for a one-woman show, and it was the same thing. It's it's just great to be nominated, and I was still waitlisted, and I never did get in. But in a way, I was kind of a relief, because I was like you. I was like, I had an idea. I had a bunch of stories written down for this, but it hadn't been complete. So in a way, it was that, oh, darn it, I'm really upset. And I was joking with Laura K. Bird when she was here. I'm like, I'm still bitter about this, but in a way it was like, whew.
It's the duality of the emotion of like,
Double-edged sword.
oh, this is so exciting. Oh my gosh, this is so scary. And in your case, like, oh, I really wanted to get in, but okay, now I have more time to do other things.
Exactly. Especially because I had never performed in front of an audience except for a few times at Fog. And I mean, this is just us, so there's no audience.
Right.
I like to think that.
I think I always say this because, so aside from doing Fringe, I'm very lucky to be a new member on the board of Corda Zone Theatre, Corda Artistic Productions. And I see this all the time where folks who have never performed on stage as an actor, or in musical theater, so actor, singer, dancer, try it for the first time and just really take off. And so I always kind of say, there's space for everyone.
You never know.
And the fact that you do this, I think it would transition so well to being on a stage.
I think the improv classes helped build a little of that confidence. So do you perform at Corda as well?
Yes, I do. So the past year, this was in 2024, I was in Frankenstein, and then that was October, November, so around Halloween time. And then in April of that year as well, I was in the Drowsy Chaperone, lots of dancing. It was such a fun show. And then the contrast between the two shows was just about as opposite as you can get. Like Drowsy Chaperone was this like kind of like big, fun, silly show focusing on these like several marriages that end up happening, a lot of Charlestoning, a lot of like big smiles. Frankenstein's the complete opposite, just so dark. Like from the get-go, we joked like 7 minutes into the show, we're like, oh, it's a party, and then the party just ends and the party never comes back. But both like really wonderful opportunities, and so grateful. I definitely think Frankenstein in particular was one that gave me a lot more confidence because prior to that I'd never had a role of that type, of that size, and kind of had those more intensive kind of interactions with a scene partner, because when you're in an ensemble for a musical, for instance, you kind of have a character, but it's a lot smaller, and you're
not by yourself.
You're not by yourself. You're kind of just like dancing in the back with your group. But then something like Frankenstein, it was a lot of scenes with a very small amount of people. So you really get to know people on a different level really quickly. And that's one thing I love about it. I think you get to know people in such I find almost like a more in-depth way much more quickly when you're doing a show, because you already have these pre-established relationships, and you have so many points of conversation and connection that you can take from being in a show in these specific roles with these people, versus if you're just kind of starting from scratch, running into someone like on the street and not knowing anything about them. So I loved getting to do that, and I loved the branch from as much as the show completely different topic again than something like Frankenstein with love and redemption. It's just been so awesome to kind of continue some of those relationships that were started in Frankenstein, because once we ended, I'm like, oh, I feel like we really just got started getting to perform together. So this has been awesome.
Now, can you give us a little synopsis of what Love and Redemption's about?
I sure can. So Love and Redemption focuses on an engaged couple, Evan and Anna. And presumably, before we see them on stage, all is going relatively according to plan with their engagement. However, an instance happens where Evan, who loves movies more than almost anything, finally shows his fiancée Anna The Shawshank Redemption for the first time, which I think many people, myself included, who have seen The Shawshank Redemption, absolutely blown away by it. Unfortunately for the two of them, Anna's response is that The Shawshank Redemption is just okay. And we meet the two characters kind of just after they've seen this for the first time, as they're trying to look for centerpieces for their wedding, and all Evan can come back to is, how could you say this was just okay? And this kind of starts a whole bunch of chaos where you'll have to see if they can come back from it, or I don't know, maybe this is the beginning of the end.
It's funny how small things can turn into such massive things.
It's so
in relationships in general.
And we talk about this a lot. So even though it focuses on the two characters, there are three other characters played so brilliantly by Boris, and he always, oh my gosh, he always makes us laugh.
So he's playing three characters?
He is.
Goodness.
He's playing, there's one character at the beginning I don't really want to say just because it's so silly,
That's
so
okay.
You'll find out. He's playing a friend of the couple named John, and then he's playing a pretentious cinephile character named Philip, and Philip always makes me laugh. That's the biggest struggle I'm currently having, is not laughing at Philip. But we talk about this a lot with Love and Redemption of, you know, for us, like, what would be that kind of like straw that breaks the camel's back, or the thing that starts that relationship decline. And yeah, it's like you said, it's something that can seem so small, but is indicative of so many other things. Like for me, I had such a hard time because I'm playing Anna, and I think The Shawshank Redemption is an amazing movie, and I have such a hard time feeling.
And you wrote her.
I know. Why did I do this to myself, Tracy? I'm like, I say this every rehearsal. I'm like, I shouldn't have done this to myself. But
pick a movie you don't like.
Right, I should have done that. I'm like, oh, but The Shawshank Redemption is just too good.
Yeah.
But one thing I really had to do is like, okay, well, you know, it is this movie, but what is kind of the deeper meaning? What is it really about? And kind of untangling that has been really interesting. Mm-hmm. This like very small thing that kind of becomes the sort of catalyst both of the show, but also of a lot of the kind of breakdowns in communication. Like, you know, I definitely have movies that I love that, you know, my partner, close friends of mine, you know, don't really jive with for various reasons. But it's like, if you have enough else to sustain that relationship, you can survive on the fact that this like one piece is not there, right? But one thing we also really talked a lot about was kind of the why. Like if you're showing somebody in your life who's really close to you this thing, whether it's a movie or whether it's a photo album or whether it's an object, like something that is of such value to you, and this person that you care about looks at it and kind of goes, that's really gonna hurt. It doesn't matter what it is.
It's true.
So it's more of the kind of lack of recognition or lack of care versus what that thing actually is. And so I hope for folks, even if they've never seen this movie, because I know there's some people that I told the plot of Love and Redemption to, and they're like, oh, I haven't seen this in a very long time, The Shawshank Redemption, or I haven't even seen it yet myself, but I kind of know of it. I think everyone can still kind of connect to that feeling of showing somebody something that they absolutely love and just kind of getting that blank stare back, and that is just such a tough feeling. So, yeah, the other kind of interesting thing with it was initially when I started writing it, in my mind it was going to be purely almost farcical. Like I pictured it as like a pure comedy where, you know, Evan was going to have this like 3-step plan to try to convince Anna to love this movie, and the steps kind of got progressively sillier as time went on. And then as I was writing it, there's a moment that happens in scene 3, and I paused and I said, oh no, if he tries to continue forcing this onto her, he's going to look just absolutely terrible. So what am I going to do? And then that was kind of the point where I almost made Love and Redemption like the other things I had written that never got finished. I'm like, oh no.
Aside.
Exactly. But then I realized, I'm like, oh no, we need to really care about these people, and we need to feel that kind of emotional attachment to them, and we need to see that there is something there as much as there is that disagreement, because otherwise I don't think people will necessarily care about the outcome in the same way if it's just like, oh, this is purely silly, versus if there is some more emotion in it. So as much as there are some very funny moments, there are some very grounded, some very serious moments too. And then sometimes there are like two in the same moment, right, on kind of opposite polarities, which I I kind of love, because I feel like life is so much like that. Like you can have a very serious moment 1 second, and then something happens where kind of the levity comes in the next moment and the seriousness can come back. So yeah, that was really interesting to kind of figure out that puzzle.
With Love and Redemption, where did it come from in you? Is it something that was real, that really happened, or a piece of it, or?
I'm laughing because I think this is okay to say this. So in part, this sort of thing has happened with me, but not with the Shawshank Redemption specifically. I definitely have had experiences with more, like my kind of Shawshank Redemption is the show Friday Night Lights, but so few people.
That's a good show.
You've seen it?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a very exciting moment. We'll have to discuss this later. So I think there's few people who would hear Friday Night Lights and be like, oh, versus something like the Shawshank Redemption, which is just so known. But what was so funny was I had this idea of the couple disagreeing on something for a long time, and I really wanted it to be a movie or a TV show, because that's something that I really connect with. That's something that I know Dalton and Boris really connect with as well, especially when it comes to movies. And I was having a conversation. I'll cloak the identity of which one of them it was. I was having a conversation with one of them who said that they had an instance where one of their friends rated The Shawshank Redemption with a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd and said it was just okay, and they unfollowed them on Letterboxd for a year because they're like, I can't stand the fact that someone would say that this movie was just okay. And I was like, that's it. That's the movie. Mm-hmm. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, which also, for folks who don't know what Letterboxd is, it's like a movie rating app. It's kind of like social media, but for movie rating. And there have been some spicy arguments on Letterboxd, understandably, if someone rates a movie you love.
Well, especially with you theater and movie people. You guys are passionate.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Just
so
a little.
Just a little bit. Oh, my goodness. 100%. So that's what started it. And as soon as I heard that movie, I'm like, oh, that's perfect, because that is almost like a fail-safe sort of movie for people.
Yeah, I'd say there's only 2 movies that you can get that almost everybody, well, 90%, 95% that love it is either Shawshank Redemption or The Green Mile.
Yes. And you know what? I haven't seen The Green Mile yet, so that's going to be...
Yeah, you'll like it. If you like Shawshank, you'll like this one.
I am not worried about myself thinking it's just okay, that's for sure. But it's really funny too, I was looking the other day at some reviews of Shawshank Redemption on Letterboxd, and there were 2 I just cracked up, because one of them, I think one of them was, the biggest red flag in a person is them not liking the Shawshank Redemption. And I was
there you go.
Oh boy, people are gonna just hate my character, aren't they? But
you gotta put that on the screen behind you guys, saying that
right?
Letterboxd review.
I know, it's like, that should just be the poster.
And almost have it in, try and figure it out how you can put her name down as the person who rated it.
I know. Well, it was so funny, Boris recently, he put on Letterboxd, he ranked Shawshank Redemption 5 out of 5, and then his review of it was just okay, just to try to see if anyone would pick up on it being from Love and Redemption, which was quite funny. But yes, I'm very curious to see how people will respond after having seen it, if there will be any sympathy with Anna, because one kind of key piece of her character is just, she's taking on so many responsibilities, and planning this wedding is one of them. And I've never planned a wedding. I don't know if I could plan a wedding. It's so much work, but I know for people who have, that it's just all encompassing, and it can feel so stressful.
So you go small like I did.
There you go. Yeah, you're not doing a wedding with a million different seating charts and things like that, which are so beautiful when they come to pass, but so much work if you're doing it primarily just yourself, right? So I'm curious to see if there will be people who connect on that level with, oh my gosh, that was me trying to plan all of these different things. So we'll see.
Being that you've been both on stage and behind stage writing it, Which do you prefer?
Well, that's a great question. It's interesting. I really loved writing this, like way more than I thought.
You're very, very passionate about this project.
Yes, I loved getting to write it, and I think part of why was the connection point that I already had it in my head who was playing each of the characters, and that helped a ton. And being able to really share some of those ideas like with them as I was writing, it was really fun too, because one thing I found with writing other things, whether it's just like a paper for school or like a solo writing assignment or even any of the abandoned past plays or stories, was that it felt very solitary, whereas this, because I already knew who was going to be in it, it felt very collaborative. And a lot of the pieces in it too are things that have happened to one of us. So if you, if even the character of Philip, for instance, Dalton has a show, like an animated series that he's done called Cinema 6, which there's also a little call out to Cinema 6 in Love and Redemption. But one of the episodes that they had, there's this pretentious cinephile character and his name is Philip. And I asked him, I really want to have a pretentious cinephile character. Are you okay if we name him Philip? And he was like, no worries, I will call off my lawyers. You'll be fine. I was like, okay. So that was really, really fun. I loved getting to do that. And I loved the kind of like untangling process of, because even the fifth scene of our show, it's very, overall, very little dialogue. And everything was going pretty smoothly up until writing it, and that was the part that I was like, oh, this is the end. And my initial idea, it just wasn't working. I was really stuck on it. And when I figured out, okay, I think I'm trying to force one thing. What if I just kind of go with what's naturally kind of been progressing for the last few scenes? It made it so much quicker. So that I really liked that process. But I also just love performing so much too. And it was interesting. I've never, of course, performed in something that I also wrote. And that was such a weird kind of experience, because starting out, and performing it when we were doing our rehearsals, I was like, oh no, I'm thinking about all the reasons why these other, all of the points of view of these other characters. I'm like, that's not good. I need to focus on just the one. So kind of having to narrow it down a bit. But so that was really interesting. And also because I did write it, it's like a living document that can be changed. It's a lot of kind of that the rumination of like, is this really working? Should I change this? Should I not change this? Do I just need to figure out how to say this better? Is it the line that's kind of funky? And so trying to really tread that line was tough.
Oh yeah.
But thankfully having Dalton and Boris as like sanity checks were really helpful. I'm like, should I change this? And they're like, no, you're overthinking. I'm like, okay. But in some cases there were, I changed the first scene quite a bit, and they were like, no, that's better. I think that should have been changed. So anyway, that was a long response. I think I love both for different reasons, really. I love performing to get to have an outlet, because you have such a wide emotional expression when you're performing, whereas I think when you're kind of going through life, you're generally kind of expected to stay within this kind of a range, whereas when you're on stage, it's encouraged to have a range. It's more like this, and you just get to again connect with people in such an interesting and such a different way. And I think when you have that trust with the people you're performing with, it's just like a magic like nothing else. You kind of know that you can throw anything at the wall and you're not going to just kind of fall on your face, that your castmates will be there to catch you if anything goes
I hear you.
left or right.
Now, other than Fringe, is this going to be anywhere else? Because you were talking about November.
So I think the answer is we'll see.
Fingers crossed?
We will see, yes. I think it will depend on how things go with Fringe. I've gotten some wonderful advice from folks who have much more experience in this area than I do as to when it might be appropriate to put on something like this, kind of so soon and when might be a time to just put a pin in it and then revisit it at a much later date.
This sounds like it would be a really good, like a short story type movie.
I mean, that's floated through my head too. That would be cool to see. Oh, thank you so much. Me too. It's coming together though, but yeah, that'll be really cool to see it kind of fully come to fruition.
Now, how long is it?
It's about, I would say about 50 minutes. We're giving us 60 because we got to move all of our set pieces around. That takes some time. But yeah, about 50 to 60 minutes.
I'm really excited to see it. Now, again, I'm going to put this out. It is at the Fringe Festival, Fringe Windsor. And that's going to be July 24th to the 27th. And I'm going to put up that website. And you're going to be right at Show Studios in one of the rooms.
Yes. And do I ever remember which one it is? No, but
that's okay. Because it's time to start buying tickets. And make sure that to go buy tickets, you go to fringewindsor.com and you'll be able to buy the tickets for the various shows, especially Love and Redemption, because that sounds like a really fun show. I am going to be getting tickets for it, for sure.
Thank you so much. And we're lucky as well. We're sharing the space with 3 other shows in our specific kind of stage of Show Studios. One of them is Corda's Extension Corda show, which is the Music School Bus Discovers Sex, which is just going to be an absolute riot, I'm sure. And then a few friends of ours also are doing a love story as a trio. It's a musical called The Flushed, a Love Story. And there's a 4th one as well, which I'm really excited to see. I don't know who's in that one specifically. And then us. So it'll be a fun day at Show Studios.
Yeah, and it's also at a Legion. I'm not sure if you check out my first podcast with Laura K. Bird, which is all on Fringe Windsor. And you'll be able to find out more information and go to fringewindsor.com for tickets, or Fringe Windsor. I think they have Instagram?
Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, they've been posting wonderfully recently. So
yeah, so definitely get onto social media or their websites. Get the tickets now, because chances are they're probably going to sell out, because this is the first time in a while that we've had a Fringe.
Yes, it's interesting too, not being from Windsor. I didn't realize that there was a Fringe prior to COVID, and so to hear that it's this kind of a resurgence, and for it to be Laura and Val kind of spearheading it is so cool. Val actually directed the first Corda show I was ever in, so definitely a special place in my heart with Val.
Oh, that's nice. And I'd never heard about Fringe until earlier this year, and it's like, oh, okay. And people were explaining it to me, so this is all completely new to me. So I'm really excited that I'm going to be back in town from vacation, so I'll be able to get to some of the shows.
Yeah.
If not all, I might just take those few days and catch them all.
I'm excited as well, as I lived in Kingston for about 6 years, and Kingston has had a Fringe for a number of years. And I'd been to some of the shows there, and it was so interesting because it was like right after I found out that we got into Fringe that I actually was visiting friends in Kingston kind of coincidentally, and it was a really interesting experience to be back there and just remembering when I was going to see those Fringe shows, and I just thought, oh, there's no way that I could ever be doing something like that. This is like, that's just like way out of my scope. And then to be back in that same place after we'd found out that we just got into Fringe was a really cool full circle moment.
Yes. It's going to be so much fun because we have so many talented people either in Windsor or coming to Windsor to do this. It's fabulous. And thank you so much, Abbey Lee, for being here today. I appreciate it so much.
Gosh, thank you for having me.
And make sure, again, to hit fringewindsor.com and their social media. Get tickets before they're sold out. It's going on July 24th to 27th, 2025. Show Studios and a Legion on
yes.
Wynot Street. And my name is Tracy Martin. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of YQG and Bloom Podcast. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and feel free to share with your friends so that we can keep this going. You guys have a great day.